Hello, today I'm going to talk about one of the most important economics articles ever written, titled The Use of Knowledge in Society by Friedrich Hayek. This article by Hayek is considered by some economists one of the most important economics articles ever written. In fact, in 2011, the American Economic Review, AER, selected a committee to list the most important articles published in the AER's 100-year history, and one of those articles listed was Hayek's. Here's the article right here. And so what I'll do is go through each section in this paper and provide an overview or a summary of it. Starting with section 1. In a world where all people's utility functions are known and all production functions are known, allocating resources is a straightforward task of equating marginal rates of substitution to marginal rates of transformation. Hayek argues that the data needed to solve the economic problem of allocating resources is not fully known to any single individual or entity. Hayek argues that the fundamental challenge in creating a rational economic order stems from the nature of knowledge in society. Knowledge is not centralized or complete, but rather exists as scattered, partial, and often conflicting information held by numerous individuals. The economic problem is about how to make the best use of resources that are known to various members of society for purposes that only those individuals can fully appreciate. It's a problem of utilizing knowledge that no single individual or entity possesses in its entirety. The economic problem is complicated because knowledge is dispersed and there's no way to capture this local knowledge held in the heads of millions of people. Farmers in different regions have specific knowledge about the local soil quality, climate conditions, and water availability that affects their agricultural practices. Centralized authorities cannot possibly know the best planting techniques or crop rotations for every farm. Entrepreneurs play a critical role in utilizing dispersed knowledge by identifying gaps in the market and innovating. An entrepreneur in a local community might recognize a demand for a particular type of product based on specific local preferences that many are unaware of. The entrepreneur's intimate knowledge of their local market enables them to create a successful business. This innovation process relies on the idea that no single authority has all the relevant information. When new technologies emerge, the adoption rate and how they are used often depend on local conditions. People in urban areas might adopt electric cars faster due to shorter driving distances and better infrastructure, while rural areas might lag due to longer distances and lack of charging stations. Each individual and community has dispersed knowledge about what will work best in their specific context, which influences the overall pattern of technological diffusion. Central planners cannot effectively dictate such patterns because they lack detailed, localized knowledge. Workers know their own skills, preferences, and job satisfaction in ways that are unknowable to any individual or entity. Employers have knowledge about specific needs that vary by industry or region. The process of job matching involves millions of independent decisions based on this dispersed knowledge, something that no government planner could efficiently control. Each firm in the supply chain, whether it's raw material providers, manufacturers, or distributors, possesses specialized information about their part of the process. A sudden disruption, like a natural disaster, might force a factory in one part of the world to halt production. Each link in the chain adjusts accordingly to its knowledge, and firms may find alternative suppliers or adjust production schedules. This adaptability is possible because knowledge about resources, capacities, and constraints is decentralized and spread across various participants in the supply chain. This section concludes by Hayek noting that the heavy use of mathematics hides the fundamental problem of economic organization, how to coordinate the dispersed knowledge of individuals in society. By focusing too much on mathematical techniques, economists may miss how markets solve the problem of rational organization by utilizing the dispersed, fragmented knowledge that individuals possess. To quote Hayek, this character of the fundamental problem has, I am afraid, been obscured rather than illuminated by many of the recent refinements of economic theory, particularly by many of the uses made of mathematics. Section 2. Hayek is not against planning. He prefers plans by the many to plans by the few. To quote Hayek, this is not a dispute about whether planning is to be done or not. It is a dispute as to whether planning is to be done centrally by one authority for the whole economic system, or is it to be divided among many individuals. Continuing, central planning, direction of the whole economic system according to one unified plan. Competition, on the other hand, means decentralized planning by many separate persons. Hayek prefers competition to central planning. So again, centralized planning, the plans of the few. Competition is decentralized planning, planning by many individuals. Hayek suggests that the effectiveness of each depends on which can better use the dispersed knowledge, either by gathering it for a central authority or by enabling individuals to coordinate their plans using the information available to them. Section 3. Hayek distinguishes between two types of knowledge: scientific knowledge, which refers to general theoretical understanding, and localized knowledge, which is practical and specific to time and place, a type of tacit knowledge. Central planners might excel in using scientific knowledge, yet Hayek argues that localized knowledge of time and place held by millions of individuals is crucial for effective decision-making and resource allocation. This dispersed practical knowledge allows individuals to make decisions based on immediate circumstances which central authorities cannot fully assess or replicate. Hayek argues that this decentralized knowledge is essential for the proper functioning of an economy. So some various examples of scientific knowledge. This is explicit and codified, can be written down, formalized, easily communicated. And some just examples of scientific knowledge in the natural sciences, statistical methods, engineering principles, medical knowledge. So all examples of scientific knowledge. But Hayek says, wait a minute, scientific knowledge, yes, is important, but if we're talking about making decisions, resource allocation decisions, getting the most we can from our economic resources, there's other types of knowledge that are also quite important. And that is this call it non-scientific knowledge. So for example, local knowledge. Individuals possess specific knowledge about their local conditions, preferences, and circumstances that is difficult to communicate or centralize. Farmers' knowledge about their particular soil conditions, a shopkeeper's understanding of their customers' preferences and buying patterns, an entrepreneur's intuition about market opportunities in a specific industry, practical skills, cultural and social norms, another example, just time and place information, knowledge about specific circumstances that are constantly changing and now only can be known by people on the spot. Some other examples here of this tacit, localized knowledge that is specific to time and place: organizational knowledge, professional judgment, technological know-how, the practical understanding of how to use and adapt technologies often gained through hands-on experience, consumer preferences, understanding your consumer's desires and needs, entrepreneurial vision, the ability to see innovations or market opportunities that others might miss. Moving on to section 4, Hayek argues against the idea that central planners can put forth long-term economic plans that, once implemented, will require little change. To quote Hayek, "Is it true that, once a plan has been built, the rest is all more or less mechanical, determined by the character of the plant, and leaving little to be changed and adapting to the ever-changing circumstances of the moment?" Hayek suggests profits can easily erode from inefficiencies. Variability and costs require businesses to frequently make new plans to adjust to a changing economic landscape. Managing costs take up a lot of the manager's time and effort. It is easy for a poorly managed business to lose profitability, even if it uses the same equipment as more successful competitors. Different businesses, even with similar resources, can end up with different costs. This reality is well known to business managers, but economists most often overlook it. In a competitive industry, at any rate, the task of keeping costs from rising requires constant struggle, absorbing a great deal of the energy of the manager. Economists tend to focus on large-scale data or statistical aggregates, which appear more stable than the small constant changes that businesses face daily. However, this stability in the data doesn't reflect reality. The smooth flow of goods and services depends on constant small adjustments, like finding new suppliers when one fails, that cannot be captured by statistics. Continuing here, even highly mechanized factories rely on their environment to provide things like spare parts or supplies. The kind of local knowledge needed for these daily adjustments cannot be easily put into statistics. Central planners who rely on large-scale data or statistical aggregates are ignorant of important details about location, quality, or specific needs. Efficiency requires that these local decisions need to be left to the people directly involved, as they have the best understanding of the situation. Section 5. To quote Hayek, "If we can agree that the economic problem of society is mainly one of rapid adaptation to changes in the particular circumstances of time and place, it would seem to follow that the ultimate decisions must be left to the people who are familiar with these circumstances, who know directly of the relevant changes and of the resources immediately available to meet them. We cannot expect that this problem will be solved by first communicating all this knowledge to a central board, which, after integrating all the knowledge, issues its orders. We must solve it by some form of decentralization, but this answers only part of the problem. We need decentralization because only thus we can ensure that the knowledge of the particular circumstances of time and place will be promptly used. But the man on the spot cannot decide solely on the basis of his limited but intimate knowledge of the facts of his immediate surroundings. There still remains the problem of communicating to him such further information as he needs to fit his decisions into the whole pattern of changes of the larger economic system. Decentralization decision-making requires information for decision makers such as plant managers to make effective decisions that account for how their plans affect others. This information is embodied in the price system. Managers don't need to know why a particular resource has become relatively more scarce, only how much more or less difficult to procure they have become compared with other things with which he is also concerned, or how much more or less urgently wanted are the alternative things he produces or uses. In a world where knowledge is dispersed, prices can act to coordinate the separate actions of different people. Assume that somewhere in the world a new opportunity for the use of some raw material, say tin, has arisen. All that the users of tin need to know is that some of the tin they used to consume is now more profitably employed elsewhere, and that in consequence, they must economize on tin. There's no need for the great majority of them to even know where the more urgent need has arisen, or in favor of what other needs they ought to husband the supply. If only some of them know directly of the new demand and switch resources over to it, And if the people who are aware of the new gap thus created in turn fill it from still other sources, the effect will rapidly spread throughout the whole economic system and influence not only all the uses of tin, but also those of its substitutes and the substitutes of these substitutes, the supply of all the things made of tin and their substitutes, and so on. The price system, by adjusting based on supply and demand, communicates all the relevant information indirectly, allowing the market to function as if one central authority had all the information needed to allocate resources efficiently. So it's the idea that this price system is taking into account all of this dispersed information and knowledge around the economy. The price system is a powerful mechanism for communicating information. Hayek calls the price system a marvel. It coordinates thousands of people, even in complex situations like a scarcity of raw materials. Without central orders, people unknowingly adjust their use of the material. They act based on price signals, which reflect changes in supply and demand, guiding them to take the right actions. Hayek emphasizes that if this system were the result of deliberate human design, it would be recognized as one of humanity's greatest achievements, but it evolved naturally. Central planners and their cheerleaders overlook how it solves problems beyond the control of any single person. The price system makes it possible for individuals to act in ways that benefit the economy without conscious direction. Instead, it provides incentives that guide people to do what is necessary without being told what to do. Hayek argues that the price mechanism is an incredibly efficient, decentralized tool for coordinating human action, and even though most people don't fully grasp its role. There's no alternative system that allows an individual the freedom to pursue his objectives while relying on his skills and knowledge. And in the last section here, the debate over the importance of the price system in facilitating rational economic calculation is now less divided by political beliefs than it used to be. At one time, Ludwig von Mises faced strong opposition when he argued that a price system is essential for maintaining a complex division of labor. Rational economic calculation cannot rely on the assumption that all necessary knowledge is held by a single individual. The price system facilitates communication of dispersed knowledge among many individuals, allowing them to make decisions based on incomplete information. Relying solely on mathematical models that assume complete knowledge neglects the real-world complexities of how individuals operate in an economy. Okay, that's it.